Igor Shesterkin comes up clutch as the Rangers outlast the Coyotes 2-1 in a chippy home opener. We talk about Igor's performance as well as fight night at Madison Square Garden. All this and more on today's episode of Locked On New York Rangers.
You're Locked On the New York Rangers, your daily podcast on the New York Rangers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back, Blue Shirts fans, to episode number 921 of the Locked On New York Rangers podcast. I'm your host, John Sheck. Just want to thank you guys, as always, for making Locked On New York Rangers your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms, including YouTube. And today's episode of Locked On New York Rangers is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. And we are, of course, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So, wanted to kick things off by talking about Igor Shesterkin because, well, Igor Shesterkin was absolutely awesome in this game. He stops 26 of 27 shots. And the craziest thing about watching this type of an Igor Shesterkin performance is, yes, he was fantastic. He was probably the biggest reason why the Rangers won this game. He was the number one star of this game. And yet, you watch it and you realize there's better games than this coming from Igor Shesterkin. Never, ever take this for granted. The fact that we got, Henrik Lundqvist for a decade and a half, and now we go right to Igor Shesterkin. There's teams around this league that have been trying to find a franchise goalie for like 30 years. The Philadelphia Flyers are always a team that kind of comes to mind anytime I mention that. So Igor Shesterkin, like I said, he was awesome, but this will not be his best performance of the season. It might not even be top five, and we're all keenly aware of that because we've watched him play hockey over the last handful of seasons here, and we know just how good he is. But as for this game, he's making glove saves, he's making sliding saves, moving from left to right a couple of times across the crease and coming up clutch in some big moments during this game. He's helping the Rangers kill a 5-on-3 penalty that they had to kill off for a full 2 minutes, and we'll break that power play for the Coyotes down in greater detail in due time here. He's even making awesome passes up the ice, a couple of times in this game, at least 2 or 3 times in this game. Igor Shesterkin with a big-time pass, through the neutral zone. In one instance, he should have sprung Artemi Panarin on a breakaway, but the ref had other plans, and we'll talk about that a little bit later in today's episode as well. But just a fantastic clutch performance from Igor Shesterkin. Of course, the big-time save on the penalty shot. We're going to get to all these things in due time. We're going to be talking about Igor basically on and off for the entirety of today's show. But one thing that I mentioned just a second ago there that we really need to hone in on, to me, probably the most critical point of this game is when the Coyotes score tied at 1-1. Coyotes get a 5-on-3 power play advantage. And man, did the Rangers come up clutch here. Igor Shesterkin was big time. The penalty killers were big time during this whole sequence. And we have to kind of set the stage here by explaining how it came to this. How did the Coyotes end up with a 5-on-3 for a full 2 minutes? Well, it goes back to what I was talking about just a minute ago. Igor Shesterkin makes an awesome pass up the center of the ice. It was more like to Igor's right a little bit. He had Panarin in the neutral zone. Let him, it's crazy to say this. Igor Shesterkin and Artemi Panarin have great chemistry. You hear that among like forward line mates. The kid line has great chemistry, or, Mika has great chemistry with Kreider, whatever it might be. Igor Shesterkin and Artemi Panarin have great chemistry because we've seen Igor make all these awesome passes out of the Rangers zone, and a lot of times it is to Artemi Panarin. They just kind of have a way of finding each other out there. It sounds crazy to say that between a goalie and a forward, but tell me I'm wrong. They on multiple occasions over the past few years have linked up. Obviously, Igor passing to Panarin, not the other way around, but some great passes from Igor to Panarin to set up some scoring opportunities for the Rangers, including this one. Unfortunately, Panarin would have had a breakaway here, and he bumps into the referee, Kelly Sutherland, because Sutherland basically threw a pick and stopped Panarin from going in on, like I said, what would have been a breakaway. It was weird because Sutherland was pretty far away from the boards on this play, and for some reason, he decided his best course of action was to get to the boards and jump over the puck instead of just staying a little bit more toward the center of the ice. And he got in Panarin's way. They bumped each other. And obviously, the breakaway opportunity never happened because of this. Now, to Sutherland's credit, after this play was over, he did apologize to Panarin for that. But it doesn't change the fact that maybe 10, 15, 20 seconds after this, the Rangers were hit with 2 penalties. The other referee Bo Halkitis, I believe is how you say it. He calls a penalty right after this. Bit of a ticky-tack penalty on Alexis Lafreniere. He got him for a slash. And at this point, the Garden's mad, the Rangers are mad, and Ryan Lindgren is especially mad because he basically shot the puck kind of at the other referee, kind of in his general direction. Because think about everything that's happened here. You watch one referee accidentally, but nevertheless still nullify a breakaway for your most talented player, and then you get a ticky-tack penalty called on the other side of the ice. So very frustrating sequence of events there for the Rangers, and it ends up being a 5-on-3. Lindgren was mad. He's probably got to do a better job controlling himself here and not putting his team in this situation. But again, the two penalties were both called 5-on-3. The Rangers roll with Jacob Trouba, K'Andre Miller, Barclay, Goodrow to start this 5-on-3. We got Igor Shesterkin making a save through traffic, making a sliding save to his left. He also shoved somebody to the ice in front of him. There was somebody kind of in the goal crease there, and Igor just two hands blasted him in the back, knocked him to the ice. I feel like at that point, he was almost daring the refs to call another penalty. And, he's got a right to defend his crease and everything, but that was great seeing Igor do that. And then we get a big-time pad save by Igor Shesterkin. Once again, I believe this one was moving from his right to his left. And then shot blocked by Jacob Trouba. Trouba also clears the puck as well. And the Garden was rocking. They were loud all night. I think this is the loudest they were the entire game because they were furious, rightfully so, about everything that happened to lead to this 5-on-3 opportunity for the Coyotes. So they were mad about it, but they were really into this. They were really fired up. They really wanted to see the Rangers kill this off, and ultimately they were able to. Rangers got a little bit fortunate here based on when this happened because, they killed off a minute and 19 seconds of the power play. Then you get the intermission, and then they handled the final 41 seconds after the break. But you got to give props here, not just to Igor, but also to Trouba, Miller, and Goodrow, who started this penalty kill. And Nick Bonino was on the ice toward the end of it as well when Goodrow was able to get off for a change. But just awesome stuff. And then the third period begins, and the Rangers start, again, still 5-on-3. They start with Mika, Miller, and Trouba. You get Trouba going down to the ice and blocking a shot. And then Lindgren and Lafreniere both left the penalty box and almost had an odd-man rush for the Rangers immediately upon leaving the penalty box. Igor Shesterkin, after the penalties expire, big save on Clayton Keller. So just great stuff all around here by the Rangers, killing off this 5-on-3 power play for, a full 2 minutes. Big-time special teams play by the Rangers. And just a huge sequence in the game here. Obviously, keeping the score tied. It's 1-1, and about as clutch as it gets to turn aside a team that was buzzing. The Coyotes were playing with a lot of energy. They had a lot of jump, a lot of dangerous looking plays for the Coyotes throughout this entire game, and that's a team that's getting better and better over there. But yeah, just a better penalty kill by the New York Rangers. Great stuff all around. Ryan Lindgren really had an eventful night. I mentioned a second ago him shooting the puck at the official. We also had him take a hit behind the Ranger net in the first period. Krause basically put a hit on him, and Lindgren went to the bench slowly. I don't think he missed any time or any shifts after that. And he ends up leading all Ranger skaters with 23:53 of ice time, so seemingly playing unrestricted. But there was that instance. We mentioned him shooting the puck at the ref. He also had a situation in this game where he had kind of a high elbow on McBain, caught him with an elbow. McBain retaliated. Lafreniere goes after McBain. O'Brien goes after Lafreniere, and that kind of set the stage for just a wild brawl at the end of this game, which we will get to a little bit later in today's episode. Also want to talk about the game-winning goal scored by Vincent Trocheck, and the Rangers playing mostly excellent defense down the stretch while protecting a one-goal lead. Going to get to all that fun stuff in just a second here, but first, we got to let everybody know that today's episode of Locked On New York Rangers is brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience, what brings home the winning trophy is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance, from superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you are burning rubber and not cash, which is always very, very important. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions apply. eBay guaranteed fit, only available to U.S. customers. And today's episode of Locked On New York Rangers is also brought to you by Game Time. You shouldn't have to worry when you're buying tickets to your next big event. Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater events near you with killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their best price guarantee. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. Game Time is the only ticketing app that gives you complete peace of mind with your purchase. See the view from your seat before you buy so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. All-in prices, show your total up front so you know you're getting a great deal without hidden fees. Buy tickets in seconds with 2 taps. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. All right, so we're going to go ahead and keep everything rolling here. I want to thank everybody, as always, though, for making Locked On New York Rangers your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms, including YouTube. Definitely make sure to subscribe there. There's a couple of things that are YouTube exclusive that we do on Locked On New York Rangers, so definitely take a minute to subscribe to the Locked On New York Rangers YouTube channel. I want to go ahead and break down the game-winning goals scored by Vincent Trocheck and also some of the defense that the Rangers played following themselves taking a 1-goal lead there. Also got to get to the penalty shot stopped by Igor Shesterkin. First, though, just kind of a general overarching theme of these first 3 games here. I thought the Rangers, overall, again, the team defense, I think, has mostly been good these first 3 games. You know, it got away from them a little bit for stretch of time against Columbus. Overall, I thought it was pretty solid in this game, although Igor had to make some good saves, and I thought it was excellent against Buffalo. But there's something the Rangers are doing that's kind of stood out to me. I wanted to talk about it even after the first 2 games, but I saw even more of it after this 3rd game here. The Rangers are really, really contesting whenever their opponents are trying to get the puck out of their own zone. We've seen some instances where it seems like whoever the Rangers are playing, somebody is about to just skate the puck out of his own zone, and somebody will step up and kind of get in their face, knock the puck away from them, put a hit on them, whatever it might be, and keep the offensive zone possession alive for the Rangers. And we saw a couple examples of that in this game as well. Adam Fox, I think this was the first period, came up and bumped his opponent, knocked him off the puck, and kept possession in the Arizona zone. It was just a shoulder check on Schmaltz, so that kept the possession alive. And we saw Panarin do something similar. He came up, didn't really body his guy, but he stole the puck from him and momentarily kept the puck in the Arizona zone. Coyotes eventually got it out. But there is some risk to playing like this because obviously if you go for like a hit in that situation in open ice and they quickly move the puck, you could be trying to defend and trying to get back and trying to scramble for an odd man rush for the Coyotes or whoever you might be playing on that night. But everything else being equal, I do like the aggressive play here, and it feels like the Rangers are being coached to do that. That seems like a Laviolette kind of thing to do, just to not make it easy on your opponent. Don't allow them to just freely skate the puck out of their zone. We've seen a few examples of that in the first 3 games, and that's something I think to keep your eye on going forward. But let's go ahead, break down this game winner by Vincent Trocheck. First of all, really strong shift by Panarin. That leads to a Ranger power play after a cross-check on Dumba. And, you know, at this point, I'm thinking, can we get a clutch power play goal? Because we know the Rangers can be very, very dangerous on the power play. We know it's been a strength of this team over the past few years, but can you get one when it really counts? Can you get one in a tight defensive struggle? Both goalies playing well, 1-1 midway through the 3rd period. And the answer here was a resounding yes. It took some time. Mika Zibanejad had a couple of one-timer attempts. And on the one, he was absolutely robbed. Just a spectacular right skate save by the Arizona goalie. But the Rangers stayed with it. We got Panarin ripping it at the net, and Trocheck deflects it in, 2-1 Rangers. And people have been speculating about this, and I think that it probably is true that maybe Laviolette is telling Artemi Panarin to shoot the puck a little more often. We've seen Panarin pull the trigger from spots on the ice where he'd typically be looking to pass, and this is another good example of it here. He might have been shooting for a deflection, but even if that was the case, he still shot the puck, and Vincent Trocheck a great job deflecting it. Kreider was in front of the net as well, creating some traffic. So good stuff all around. and Rangers take a 2-1 lead, and that was indeed the final score. But the other thing I love about this that kind of goes hand in hand with the game winner here, there's about 12 minutes or so to go in the game, 11:34 to go in the game. Just outstanding team defense by the Rangers down the stretch here. Some Ranger teams in the past might kind of go into a shell in a spot like this. They might kind of sit back and rely on their goalie to do all the work. The Rangers stayed aggressive here. A lot of time spent on Arizona's side of the rink. The Rangers are smart with the puck, kept the puck along the boards. They were in on the forecheck. A lot of battles behind the Arizona net, which is obviously bleeding some time off the clock, keeping the puck far away from your net, and forcing the Coyotes players to expand energy, just trying to get the puck out of their own zone. So that was awesome. The Rangers stayed aggressive after they scored what turned out to be the game-winning goal here, but they never did anything that I thought was all that reckless. They were pretty much perfect except for one play, which almost cost them dearly. Basically, the Rangers got caught in the Arizona zone. You've got a breakaway opportunity going the other way for Zucker, and obviously Barclay Goodrow, he's the last guy back. He's kind of a fish out of water there because he's not a defenseman. But he had to reach out, basically just grab him. Prevent him from getting to the rink, or to the other side of the rink, to the Ranger net. And he grabs him, takes the penalty. It is a penalty shot for Zucker with just 4:48 to go. And Igor comes up clutch. He's now 4 for 4 stopping penalty shots in his career. Zucker went up the right side, went back in toward the center of the ice, and Igor just stayed with him all the way, never gave him anything, nowhere to shoot the puck, and just stoned him right there on the doorstep. So we get loud Igor chants. The Garden was absolutely rocking, which you would expect on an opening night game anyway. But this was a really intense, really fast-paced, really exciting game of hockey, and the fans were hanging on everything that happened. And there was an interesting quote from Vincent Trocheck after the game, because obviously, Goodrow takes that penalty, and we're not sure it's going to be a 2-minute penalty or is it going to be a penalty shot. Ends up being the penalty shot. And here's what Trocheck had to say about it. You can almost say that I'd rather have them have a penalty shot than a power play. 2 minutes can create a lot of momentum. And when you have a guy like Shesterkin back there, he's going to save a lot of those. And it's funny, I was kind of debating this in my head myself, when the play developed and we knew it was either a penalty or a penalty shot. Typically, I think you'd rather it be just a normal penalty because, teams on power plays, even the best power play in the league is only scoring at a 25% clip. And on penalty shots, you're going to score more often than that. But by that same token, you've got Igor Shesterkin there to Trocheck's point. So maybe that was the better way for this to go. And obviously, Igor came up clutch there. So big time save by Igor Shesterkin, big time moment. And would you expect anything else? Probably not, if you've watched this team with any sort of regularity. I want to keep everything rolling here. I want to turn our attention to some of the fisticuffs in this game, specifically what happened at the end of the game. That just got crazy there. There was a face-off with half a second left, and the next thing you know, just a complete brawl on the ice. And we're going to get to that in just a second. But first, got to let everybody know that today's episode of Locked On New York Rangers is brought to you by Sleeper. Artemi Panarin scores a hat trick. The New York Rangers win the Stanley Cup. And if you want to win 100 times your money, play daily fantasy hockey on the Sleeper app. These are all possible scenarios for this season. But to have a chance at winning big, you need to play daily fantasy hockey on Sleeper. As the official daily fantasy app of the Locked On NHL Network, Sleeper is our top choice for daily fantasy sports, especially daily fantasy hockey. With Sleeper, you can win 100 times your cash in daily fantasy hockey contests. With studs like Panarin and Mika and Igor Shesterkin and Adam Fox, all you need to do is pick more or less on these stats for these stars. Choose stats like goals, assists, saves, plus, minus, and more. You heard me, Ranger fans, 100 times the payouts on Sleeper, so start paying attention and get your picks right so you could win big. Use promo code LOCKEDONNHL and you will get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. That's Locked On NHL. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. All right, let's go ahead and talk about all the fisticuffs, all the brawling at the end of this game. So we'll get to that in a second, but I did want to kind of just highlight the way the Rangers defended down the stretch in this game. Again, it goes back to what I was talking about. The last 2 minutes of this game, Coyotes had a difficult time even getting the puck out of their own zone. The Rangers kept it pinned deep. A lot of offensive zone faceoffs for the Rangers, forcing the goalie to make a couple of saves and freeze the puck. Some board battles behind the net. Rangers basically just doing everything to prevent the Coyotes from even getting the puck out of their own zone. And you would almost think watching this that the Rangers were the team down by a goal because they were actually getting some scoring chances in the last 2 minutes here. Big time face-off win by Vincent Trocheck. He was down on the ice, like just really battling for it, and that allowed the Rangers to keep possession of the puck and even get a couple scoring chances of their own. But the Coyotes finally get it out of their own zone. They pull the goalie with 53 seconds left. Another big play by Bonino here, chips the puck out of the Rangers zone. Bonino had a great play on the penalty kill earlier in this game as well, broke up a pass, and that allowed the Rangers to get a much-needed clear because they had some tired penalty killers on the ice during that time. Bonino's really played well. He's somebody that just clearly understands who he is as a player and what his role is, so I like what I've seen so far from him. There's not a ton of flash, and we know he's not going to light up the score sheet every single night, but he is a very solid, very effective player, and like I said, just a solid play from the veteran and a nice play there in crunch time for the Rangers. And also, again, they're going to Bonino in spots like this when they really need a penalty kill, when they really need to hang on to a lead late in the game. Bonino's getting some big-time ice time and making some plays while he's out there doing it. So I love what I'm seeing from Nick Bonino. Again, the Rangers had to go to the discount store as it pertains to their shopping and free agency. They did that with Bonino, but they got somebody who, once again, just understands who he is as a player, understands his role, and is not a superstar, but the things that he does well, he does very well. And that's great to see him getting off to a good start with his new team here. We also get the Coyotes getting the puck back into the Ranger zone with 32 seconds to go. Mika clears the puck after a scramble in front of the Ranger net. Igor had to make a save there. And so there's an icing with 17 seconds, and another save by Igor Shesterkin. Mika indeed does clear the puck down the ice. It goes off the boards, and it's called for icing with half a second left in the game. Puck drops, game immediately ends, and now we get the brawl that I was talking about. Igor Shesterkin was in there. Mika was basically in a wrestling match in the corner. We almost got a Mika Zibanejad fight at the end of this game, and I think he's one of the probably least likely Rangers to drop the gloves and get into a fight, but he was winning it too. He's kind of in a wrestling match and kind of had his guy down a little bit. So Mika was off to the side there, but there was a big brawl. And basically what happened, to back up to when the puck dropped, you had Keller. He went after Lindgren. And my guess here is that this probably stemmed from, Ryan Lindgren with the high elbow earlier in this game. Maybe he was looking for retaliation here was Keller. But then Dumbo was going after, I think, Igor as well, and that's when Dumbo was going after Lindgren. Igor then jumped in, intercepted him, and we get just total chaos. Trouba gave Dumba a good shot when they were both down on the ice. Basically just a giant wrestling match. You had like 6 bodies piled up, and you got the refs in there trying to break everything up. Once they finally separate everybody, Dumbo was still trying to get at Jacob Trouba, was still trying to fight Jacob Trouba. And for the record, I would love to see him try. Maybe that's something to keep an eye on when these two teams meet a little bit later in the season. But the linesman got Trouba off the ice, and eventually everything died down. But this is a crazy situation here. Like I said, Igor right in the middle of it. I could do without that because I don't want to see Igor Shesterkin. Somebody falls on his leg and he gets hurt during a brawl, which is basically a meaningless brawl at the end of the game. So yeah, I could do without Igor mixing it up here, but at the same time, he kind of like it because, he's in there with his guys. He's not going to just sit off in the corner. He's down in the weeds with everybody else. So mixed feelings on Igor Shesterkin mixing it up in this brawl here at the end of the game. We also had, this is something else I want to talk about. We had a play in this game where Adam Fox went down and he had to miss a little bit of time. The Rangers were rotating 5 defensemen while that was the case. I know some people were thinking that maybe this was a dirty play on the part of Keller. Keller's down on the ice, and he basically kind of whipped his leg forward, and it caught Adam Fox in the back of the leg, and Fox went down. So some people were calling it a slew foot. It's hard to prove in 10. I could see this one kind of maybe going either way. And, with Fox there, obviously that scares you because you don't want to see him going down and potentially suffering an injury. I don't know. Some people were saying slew foot. This to me seemed like an instance where maybe he was just kind of trying to get up off the ice pretty quick and just kind of swung his leg around and didn't realize where it was going. I don't know. It could go either way. But Keller doesn't really have a history of that kind of stuff. I looked it up, and he got fined last year for a cross check. But besides that, no other incidents for his NHL career so far. And really, I'm just glad that Adam Fox is okay. And as we wrap up today's episode, I also must give a big time shout out to Sam Rosen. They did a highlight reel of Sam Rosen when they were coming out of the break to start the second period. 40 years of Sam Rosen calling New York Ranger games. Apparently, he was with Phil Esposito for 2 years. I didn't realize it was that short of a time with Esposito. But then he was with John Davidson, JD, for 20 years, and now Joe Micheletti for the last 18 years. That's crazy in and of itself. The fact that he's been there for 4 years and he's only had 3 different partners, including only 2 of those seasons with one of them. So 38 years combined between JD and Joe Micheletti. JD was awesome, and obviously they called the Rangers Stanley Cup winning moment together. And it's just crazy to think that, Joe Micheletti in a few years, he might pass JD, and Sam might have spent more time with Joe than he did with JD, which blows my mind. Not because I don't like Joe. I think he does a great job, but the odds are against, I think, any 2 broadcast partners staying together for 20 years. And Sam's about to do it with 2 consecutive color guys. So that's pretty wild to think about. And I would imagine Joe probably will pass JD for most, time spent with Sam, because they both seem to love what they're doing, and it just doesn't seem like there's going to be any changes made. I think Ranger fans are very happy with that duo. So just great stuff there. But as far as the Sam Rosen highlight reel, I mean, there's a lot in 40 years. They could have made this a lot longer if they wanted to. But you had Sam's call of Artemi Panarin a couple of years ago when he won Game 7 in overtime against the Penguins. That's a fantastic call. One of his more modern, legendary calls. You've got his call when Mika Zibanejad scored 5 goals. That was just a wild game. And obviously, Sam was on his game that night as well. Pavel Bure with the penalty shot against Mike Richter. Mike Richter making a fantastic save there. And then, of course, who could ever forget? The waiting is over. The New York Rangers are the Stanley Cup champions, and this one will last a lifetime. They ended the highlight reel with that call. Just absolutely iconic. You cannot think of the Rangers winning the Stanley Cup. You can't think of that final moment without having that kind of go through your head, that kind of replay through your head. Just absolutely A+ stuff there from one of the best to ever do it. And we're very, very lucky. I talked earlier about never taking great goalies for granted. Never take great announcers for granted. There's some teams out there around this league and other leagues where I don't want to be overly critical here or too mean or anything, but there are some announcers out there, as we all know. We've all got our favorites. We've got some guys and some girls that maybe we don't like so much. And obviously, it's nothing to ever be taken for granted. There are some announcers out there in this world that do leave a little bit to be desired. And again, I'm not going to name any names or anything along those lines, but, we've all got our favorites. And I think Ranger fans, it's hard to get Ranger fans to agree on anything. That there's very few that will get a 100%, approval rating or anything like that, or a certain player that everybody loves. I think just about every Ranger fan out there, big time fan of Sam Rosen. So again, a big time congratulations to Sam Rosen for 40 years calling these games. I figured we could pretty much call it there. I also want to just apologize to you guys. My voice is kind of messed up today. I think I might be coming down with something. Hopefully not, but we'll see. Regardless, we'll be back here with a new episode tomorrow. But that will do it for today. Once again, if you guys would like to get in touch with this podcast, please send an email to lockedonnyrangers@gmail.com. Once again, that is lockedonnyrangers@gmail.com. Definitely give us a follow on Twitter as well, @LO_NY_Rangers. Once again, that is @LO_NY_Rangers. And definitely subscribe to Locked On New York Rangers YouTube channel. Thanks again, guys. I will see you next time.